feel like I'm catching up with myself this year. I've been trying to catch up with myself for a long time now, and I keep avoiding myself, but I've finally committed to it, and it's been since November last year. It's been almost 4 months of actually being with myself, finally, fully. And there are minimal distractions, and I'm really doing me, like 100%. I've got my little place, like my space now is like one tiny room, which is like my office and my bedroom, and with an ensuite, like that's it. It's so simple, so cheap, and I just work all the time, or work on myself all the time. And yeah, there's like not a lot of escape. There's no escape really. I have like the slightest amount of indulgence just to remain human really, so that I'm not just turning into a machine, because sometimes I kind of fear that. I kind of become concerned that if I just focus on moving towards the goal in a very systematic manner, that I just become droid-like. And time's flying by as well. That's alarming. Like, because I'm so preoccupied with all of my pursuits, it's almost as if time is evaporating. It's like those days where you look at the clock and it's like, you know, just the morning's just begun, and then you look again and it's like late afternoon, but on a larger scale. So I'm like looking at the calendar, like it's November, I'm gonna make some time for myself. Look at the calendar again, it's February. Like, holy shit. Sure, that like I can see that a lot of things have occurred, but how present was I really for that if I've just been in this systematic, like autonomous mode where everything is a routine and a schedule, even though it's like flexible and everything's feels free. I can see myself disappearing into the prison that I created for myself, which is really, it's intentional. Like I even joke about like I've got my little cell, and the only difference between me and other people is that like I know I'm in prison. Like I know that like society, like without a massive amount of financial abundance, like we are locked into this routine where we work and earn and spend and consume. And I'm like sort of doing my time metaphorically, like just go to my cell each night. This is getting really dark real quick. Like it sounds dark, and that's an indicator of like how I'm feeling inside. Like I can't hide that when I'm just being honest. But yeah, go to my cell, go out and do the things that I need to do, and eventually I'll be free. And I'll be able to go out into the big wide world and do whatever I want. But it's weird because like I could leave any moment. Like I could leave right now and start driving around the country again. I could even go overseas, like, but it would just reverse all of the hard work that I've done. And that's my old cycle. I used to generate a lot of wealth and then go on adventures and spend it all and go back to zero again. And then I would have the motivation to like amass wealth again. And I haven't got much better at producing wealth. Like I definitely have got better, but not good enough to justify living that loop for the rest of my life. Like it's gonna get old and tiring. It is tiring. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Yeah, like I'm never gonna be able to get to a point, or never say never, but like generate like millions of dollars in a year or something like that. Although that's kind of where these goals are heading, but I just had the wrong strategy. It was like trading my time for money only trading my time for money, like have to go and produce a result, or like go to a job, or you know, provide a service So I'm literally limited to like how many hours there are in a week, and then you've got to take all of your expenses out of your earnings, and before you know it, you're working so hard. And working harder means that you're probably indulging more and consuming more stuff that you don't really need, and spending more money and being more excessive because you just don't have time, so you're choosing convenience over like economical kind of choices. And it was a bad way to do things, and it took me way too long to realize that. But it's like what everybody's telling you, like start investing young, start like employing your income instead of being employed to earn income. I'm really bored. Some days, it's especially days like today where I've just come from work to go to work, and now I have a little bit of time before the sun sets, and then I'm probably going to go home, do some paperwork, and like it's just going to be the end of the day and I'll be back in my cell. It's kind of sad, but it's what I need to do to create what I want. And I kind of go around in circles with myself with this, and I get convinced that I want to just go and live life now and enjoy myself now. And that's especially why I'm not in a relationship as well, because when I'm dating, like, women convince me to just like indulge more and live a little and like let my hair down and play and spend, and you know, like I think it's more masculine thing to like plan and execute and have a vision to create something and be really Spartan about it, like in the sense that like don't have a lot so that you can minimize your expenses and you can work towards this thing. And like that's why I needed to be alone to really do this, because there's a part of the journey that needs to happen where there's no fun. And I really wish it wasn't true, and I hate that it's coming out of my mouth, but it's what I've discovered. Like there has to be a sacrifice of time, like some time that you spend building and working really hard, and you can shorten the duration of that time by working even harder and eliminating even more indulgence, and like really minimize your expenses and maximize your earning, and really spend every single minute that you have working on yourself and improving yourself. But it's insanity, really. In the moment, what I'm seeing is like I want to sacrifice a few years of my life. Really, it could end up being several years of like not having a lot of indulgence. Really, I keep coming back to the word indulgence. I don't want to say pleasure, because you can find pleasure in the work, you can find joy in the work, you can find love in the work. Like it's not, I don't feel like it's a sacrifice, and I think that's why I'm able to do it. And like I'm joking about being in my cell and it's like a prison and I've got to put my time in and all of this stuff, but you know, it is a joke to a certain degree, because I am enjoying it most of the time. It's just these periods of time where I've been really working and I'm tired and bored, and you're like nothing really miraculous happened today, and I'm just kind of reflecting on my week, and I'm just seeing like a lot of work, and it's probably not even real. Like the week was probably quite pleasant and like beautiful things happened, and it was enriching and fulfilling, meaningful time spent. But actually, this is where it is. This is really interesting. I actually feel this mindset anytime that I sit back and I think about my goals, and I think about like I think about this freedom that I want, because it's only when I'm thinking about this freedom of like not having to work so much, and having like all these investments and things so that you can relax a little bit. When I'm thinking about that freedom, I'm realizing that I don't have it. Like I'm creating the picture of like me not being free, even though like what I'm doing is absolutely what I want to be doing. Like I'm enjoying it. I like having my little space. It's easy to manage, it's easy to clean, it's easy to like it's the lowest amount of responsibility, and I thrive when I don't have to deal with heaps of menial, like day-to-day human stuff. Like I like to be able to invest more of my time into my creativity and my goals and things. Like all of the choices that I've made them for a reason, and I have created the life that I actually want. But I guess I'm still stuck in that comparison thing where I'm seeing everybody else living in the moment, or like just enjoying things right now, using their credit cards and getting loans and partying and spending their whole week's paycheck at the club or whatever they're doing. Even though like it doesn't appeal to me at all, I'm still having this weird thing where I'm like, what about me? And the weird thing is, I just realized I only feel jaded and like crusty and old and bored and just all of those negative things. Like I'm going to be sitting here forever just never enjoying my life, when I'm thinking about the enjoyment that I'm going to have in the future. Like it's a future thing. Like I'm not being in the moment and being grateful for where I am and what's going on, because it's actually really nice. But I guess as well, I've tasted like all of the pleasures, and I have lived in the moment and just like spent all my money to the extreme. Like I said before, like I used to amass wealth and then just go and blow it all basically and go on a wild adventure. And so when you compare this disciplined, goal-oriented life where I'm going to stick to it this time, and I'm not gonna just go out and blow all of this wealth that I've generated. I'm gonna actually create a freedom machine, and I'm gonna get out of the game. Like when I compare these two lifestyles, these two ways of being, the old way definitely looks more fun. But I know so deeply that if I continue on this path and I create enough investments, I'll be so free that I can live the way that I lived on all of those adventures for the rest of my life. And all I have to do is stay on track for several years, stick to the plan, create this freedom machine, and then sort of dispense with these ideas of not being free, because I will be free. I will be totally free. And there's so many things that could go wrong too. I guess that's a little fear in the back of my mind just whispered into my ear, like, what about if it doesn't work out? Like, what if you spend the next several years working really hard on this freedom machine that you're imagining, and investing all of your money into these different avenues, and what if it all falls apart? What if the economy crashes? All of these fears that we're constantly bombarded with. What if everything just fucking vanishes on you, and all you've sacrificed these years, but you didn't actually get the result? Like it's just gone. Like that would be heartbreaking. And I think it's little things like that that niggle away at us that eventually get us to cave in and go back to, okay, like let's just party right now, let's just enjoy our lives right now. And I think that the whole state of the planet Earth right now, and the way all the countries and governments are behaving, and restrictions and changes, and small businesses being wiped out by mandates and bullshit, like people are more jaded and ready to just live in the moment than ever before. Like long-term planning has died for so many people. But I've been through enough adversity in my life and lost everything enough times that, I don't know, the only thing that makes sense to me is just start building again, you know? Like when the tsunami comes and everything's destroyed, are you gonna just sit in the wreckage, or are you gonna pick up some timber and get to work, you know. Oh, so many thoughts and feelings. I'm in an interesting place right now. It feels prolonged, it feels kind of boring, and I hope it's not too boring for the viewers as well. But it's truth, you know, it's like a part of it. Somebody else might be like contemplating this kind of stuff, like, is it worth it to put my head down and work really hard for a few years, or do I just want to be like everybody else and just enjoy what I can enjoy, what I can access? Like, I just want pleasure now, I want enjoyment now. And like, I could go down the existential route and talk about like ancient cultures, and you know, like even in the East they have the concepts of Preya and Shreya, and like Preya is what brings you pleasure right now in the moment, gives you everything that you want now, and Shreya is what gives you your enjoyment, your pleasure, and your abundance and good things long term. And it's like, it's that typical Eastern tradition thinking, like the duality, like you choose Preya or you choose Shreya. Let's make this really simple. Are you going to choose to indulge in everything and be a hedonist and get everything that you want as fast as possible, and in the long run that's going to be to your detriment? Or are you going to only choose things that are going to be of benefit to you in the long run, but are going to not really stimulate you in the short term and not bring you a lot of short-term pleasure and fulfillment? But can you even call fulfillment if it's short-term? I feel like fulfillment belongs in a different realm. Like, fulfillment needs to be something that lasts. Is it really fulfillment if like you feel fulfilled for a second? How long do you need to feel fulfilled before it's true fulfillment? I feel like fulfillment is even like a permanence to it. Like when I say that word, I'm like, I feel fulfillment. It's like, if something's made me feel fulfilled, it's like that's gonna be with me for the rest of my life. I think that's how strong that word is to me. And isn't it interesting that like words mean so differently? Words, I can't even say words. Isn't it interesting that I can't speak English? But yeah, isn't it interesting that a word can like carry so much weight to one person, and then somebody else might just throw that word around like it's nothing? And then you've got to take into consideration that we're having conversations using these words all the time, and the language means something totally different to each of us. So here we are again on watching a video journal, if you're on the other side of this experience, where the fella's talking about how he can't actually communicate anything to you because words are meaningless. They're not meaningless, but I do feel how limited they are a lot of the time. More and more. The more I learn how to articulate and communicate more clearly, the more I realize that words are not the most powerful way to do that. I want to learn more about body language and like tone of voice, and even like art and shit. Like I want to learn how to express more through music and song, and just like more ways to share what I'm thinking and feeling that aren't just a monotone delivery of English words stitched together in a way that I hope makes sense. Getting rambly. If you get anything out of these videos, please pass them on to other people you know who might enjoy them for whatever reason. I cannot imagine. Subscribe if you haven't already, and leave your comments down below.